Chapter 1 of The Lightning Thief is titled, I Accidentally Vaporized My Pre-Algebra Teacher. Percy Jackson, a 12-year-old boy with ADHD and dyslexia, is on a school field trip to the Metropolitan Museum of Art with his 6th grade class from Yancey Academy. He explains that strange things tend to happen around him, and he often gets into trouble. His best friend Grover is a nervous kid with a limp, and his Latin teacher, Mr. Brunner, is one of the few adults who believes in him. During the trip, Percy gets into an argument with Nancy Bobofit, a bully, and somehow causes water from a fountain to drench her. Mrs. Dodds, his strict pre-algebra teacher, takes him aside, but instead of scolding him, she transforms into a terrifying winged creature, a fury, and attacks him. Just as Percy thinks he's doomed, Mr. Brunner suddenly appears and throws him a pen that turns into a sword. Percy instinctively swings it and vaporizes Mrs. Dodds. Strangely, when he returns to his classmates, nobody remembers Mrs. Dodds, and they act as if she never existed. Even Grover pretends not to know who she is. Confused and suspicious, Percy realizes something strange is going on, but doesn't understand what yet. Chapter 2 of The Lightning Thief is titled, 3 Old Ladies Knit the Socks of Death. After the strange encounter with Mrs. Dodds, Percy becomes increasingly suspicious. No one remembers her, not even his best friend Grover. When Percy asks Mr. Brunner about it, the teacher simply tells him to focus on his studies. Percy starts wondering if he imagined everything. As the school year continues, Percy struggles with his grades and behavior, and eventually he gets expelled from Yancey Academy. He prepares to go home for the summer, feeling like a failure. Grover offers to ride the bus with him back to New York, acting nervous and protective. On the way, they stop at a gas station where Percy notices 3 old women sitting near the road, knitting. Grover freaks out when one of them snips a thread with golden scissors. Percy doesn't realize it, but this is a sign of impending death, similar to the fates from Greek mythology. Percy presses Grover for answers, but Grover dodges his questions, making Percy even more suspicious. The chapter ends with a sense of mystery and tension. Something big is happening, and Percy is at the center of it, even if he doesn't fully understand it yet. Chapter 3 of The Lightning Thief, Grover unexpectedly loses his pants. Percy arrives home in New York and describes his difficult life living with his mother, Sally Jackson, and his awful stepfather, Gabe Ugliano. Gabe is a lazy, smelly man who treats Sally and Percy terribly. Sally, however, is kind and loving. She works hard and rarely gets time for herself, but she takes Percy on a trip to Montauk, their special place by the beach. During their trip, Sally tells Percy about his real father, though she doesn't reveal much. She only says he was a great man and had to leave before Percy was born. Percy feels like there's a secret she isn't telling him. That night, there's a terrible storm, and Grover suddenly shows up at their cabin. Only now, he isn't just a nervous kid. He's revealed to be a satyr, a half-human, half-goat creature. He has furry legs, hooves, and small horns. Percy is shocked, but before he can process it, Grover urgently tells them that something is coming and they need to leave immediately. Sally panics and rushes them into the car. As they speed away, Grover explains that they have found Percy. Percy still doesn't understand what's going on, but he knows that whatever is chasing them is dangerous. The chapter ends with the storm raging and an unknown threat getting closer.